You've got questions, we've got answers. I'm Brandon with the Adept Traveler, and this is Travel Questions Answered. International travel in the age of COVID. We've had many people reaching out to us recently, wanting to know about traveling internationally. There's a lot of confusion about where you can go, what you need to get there, and how to return home. Depending on your destination, you will need at least two things. To be fully vaccinated. This means that your final dose must have been administered at least 14 days before you leave. And to have a negative COVID test taken within 2 to 3 days before boarding your flight. Each country has its own specific requirements. Some require specific tests, others require specific vaccines, and then there's the digital vaccination card or online document submission. Unfortunately, there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer for visiting a foreign country right now. If you're thinking about foreign travel, reach out to us or another travel advisor to help you better understand what the requirements are for your intended destination. Wherever you go, you will eventually return to the US. Thankfully, this process is pretty consistent across most countries. Let's start with air travel. If you are returning by plane, you will need to be either a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. Foreigners are not yet allowed to enter the U.S. under most circumstances. And you will need a negative COVID test, taking no more than 3 calendar days or 72 hours before boarding. The test has to be a viral test, so either an NAAT or antigen test. Any other test will not be allowed. If you have proof that you recovered from COVID within the last 90 days, you could be exempt from these testing requirements. Let's go through some of the questions I've recently received. To start, where can I get tested? Well, that depends on where you're visiting. If you're doing an all-inclusive or destination resort, they might handle testing on site. If testing is not provided or you're not staying in a resort, you will need to determine a location in advance. If I were planning your travel, I'd try to provide you with a list of locations that could do the correct test and get you the results in a time frame that would work for travel back to the US. If you are doing your own planning, I'd recommend that you find multiple locations that do a viral test and will have results back to you with enough time for you to travel. Remember, you have a 72-hour window from when the test is taken. A quick note about testing at resorts. For those planning their own trips, I'd call the resort to better understand timeframes, wait times, and if a reservation is possible or required. The last thing you want to do is spend the end of your vacation waiting in line. It's also good to have a few backups just in case. If the resort or testing center runs out of tests because of higher than expected demand, you will already know where to go. You don't have to waste vacation time searching for another testing center. What happens if there are flight delays that cause your test to be older than 72 hours? If your initial flight is delayed to the point where you are outside of the 72-hour window, then you will need to get retested. There's just no way around it. If you are already on a flight and a connection is delayed, putting you beyond the 72-hour window, according to the CDC, you should be fine, assuming the delay is less than 24 hours and you don't leave the airport. It wouldn't hurt to have a list of testing locations in any city you have a connection in, just in case. Can I get a rapid test? Yes, as long as it's a viral test and conforms to the CDC's order. If there is a specific test you're looking to have done, you'll need to verify that it's accepted. Otherwise, you run the risk of getting turned away trying to board the plane, and no one wants that. Okay, and the most asked question is, what happens if I test positive for COVID? This is the situation you don't want. Remember, just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you can't catch or carry the virus. So if you do test positive, you will need to quarantine until you fully recover. This is at your expense. Now, depending on where you're going, there are some travel insurances that have a quarantine coverage. If that's something you'd like to know more about, then give us a call or call another travel advisor to walk you through the specifics. Some countries have specific policies in place for you if you do test positive, which can include having to stay in a specific quarantine hotel. These hotels can get expensive. They usually start at a few $100s a day, or more per person. If you have a specific question about this or any other travel topic, please feel free to reach out to us or leave us a comment on this video. Travel Questions Answered is brought to you by The Adept Traveler, a travel agency that specializes in accessible travel. Our belief is that everybody should be able to travel and to travel well. To stay updated on travel news, tips, tricks, and other insights, which we hope will help you to travel well, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. And of course, you can always visit our website at adept.travel.